In the mid-1980s, Honda was hitting its stride. The company had already built a reputation for precision engineering, efficiency, and reliability. But performance? That was a space where European marques still reigned supreme. Then, in 1987, Honda did something bold. It took its practical, fuel-efficient Civic and gave it a shot of adrenaline. Stay with me, because today we're going to take a look at the story of the 1987 Civic SI, a car that would go on to define the sport compact segment and pave the way for the next generations of hot hatches to come. And we're going to see how it measures up against cars we have previously tested. By the late 80s, the Civic had already become a global success, known for its practicality and bulletproof engineering. But Honda saw an opportunity. What if the Civic could be more than just a sensible commuter? What if it could be fun? The answer came in the form of the Civic SI, which stood for Sport Injection. The first one was introduced in 1984 in Japan and North America as a fuel-injected performance variant of the Civic CRX. By 1986, Honda had extended the SI treatment to the Civic hatchback, and in 1987, the formula was perfected with the facelifted third-generation model known internally as the EC3. This was the car that set the standard for future Civic Si models, blending lightweight agility with just the right amount of power. At the core of the 1987 Civic Si was its D15A3 engine, a 1.5-liter single overhead cam inline-4 that produced 91 horsepower and 93 foot-pounds of torque. That might not sound like much today, but in a car weighing just 2,075 pounds, it was more than enough to make the Civic Si feel lively. Key to the SI's performance was its programmed fuel injection, or PGM-FI system, which replaced the carburetors found in lesser Civics. This allowed for better throttle response, improved fuel efficiency, and smoother power delivery, marking a significant leap forward for Honda's engine technology. Its performance figures were impressive for the time, making 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 9 seconds and getting a quarter-mile time in the low 16s, with a top speed of approximately 115 miles per hour. More importantly, it wasn't just quick, it felt quick. The lightweight chassis combined with Honda's precise 5-speed manual transmission made the Civic Si a joy to wring out, proving that driving fun wasn't just about straight-line speed. What really set the Si apart wasn't just its modest power, it was the way it handled. It had a sport-tuned suspension with stiffer springs and dampers that gave the Si sharper reflexes than its economy-focused siblings. It featured a front McPherson strut and a rear torsion beam setup that kept the weight down while maintaining predictability in the corners. It was also equipped with front disc brakes and rear drums, ensuring adequate stopping power. The result? A car that felt more agile and composed than its specs would suggest. The SI didn't just offer a sporty trim level, it was engineered to be a driver's car. Unlike many of today's performance hatchbacks, the 1987 Civic Si didn't scream for attention. Instead, Honda kept things purposeful, giving the Si a sporty yet understated look. Notable design features included a subtle front lip spoiler for better aerodynamics, a clean, boxy profile that was both functional and timeless, and a lightweight hatchback design that made it both practical and nimble. Inside, the Civic Si continued with its no-nonsense approach, with supportive bucket seats, a leather-wrapped steering wheel, and simple yet well-laid-out dashboard, which was focused on driver engagement. The Si wasn't just another trim level. It was the foundation for what would become one of the most respected performance lineups in Honda's history. It proved that performance and practicality weren't mutually exclusive, offering a fun-to-drive experience without sacrificing affordability or reliability. More importantly, It laid the groundwork for Honda's philosophy of accessible performance, a concept that would later give birth to icons like the Integra Type R, S2000, and the modern Civic Type R. Today, the third generation Civic SI is a rare sight on the road, as many were either modified beyond recognition or lost to time. However, those lucky enough to find one in good condition recognize its significance, not just as a great car in its own right, but also as the genesis of Honda's performance DNA. The 1987 Civic SI wasn't just a hot hatch, it was the spark that ignited Honda's enthusiast following, proving that an economy car could be an absolute blast to drive. And that legacy still lives on to this day. Before we test the engine swap variant and the stock motors variant of this car, if you've made it this far, please like and subscribe to the channel. And if you like this livery that was inspired by the Multool race car, search on Multool and you'll be able to find it and use it on your own vehicle. But let's go ahead and take these Civics over to the expressway and see how they end up on our leaderboard. The 87 Civic SI is available periodically in the used car inventory to be purchased. It's currently listed for 61,000 credits, which is pretty expensive, but once you get into later game, that's going to be totally reasonable. The issue is this is kind of an early game car, so that can be a little steep for new players. When you totally build out the Civic with its stock engine, it ends up with 643 performance points, 302 horsepower, and 187 foot-pounds of torque. But keep in mind, some of these upgrades are actually in the Ultimate class, and you'll need to either get those parts through roulette tickets or be at collector level 50 to purchase them. The top speed of this car as I had it built was hitting 170 miles per hour. I think I actually had it a little bit limited by the transmission, and I should have stretched it a little further to about 230 kilometers per hour, but it will rev pretty high, so you want to gear it lower than what you're expecting. The weight of the Civic came down to 1,724 pounds after weight reduction, so this is a very lightweight vehicle. And even though the engine performance isn't necessarily that stellar with this stock engine, this is kind of a momentum car, so you'll be able to float through the corners and carry a lot of speed where your opponents are going to be braking to manage the weight of their chassis. It was actually pretty reasonable on the tires as well because of that lightweight ability, and we saw 20% wear to the front tires, even though they're responsible for everything with this vehicle, for putting the speed down, for braking, and for cornering. The rear tires saw about 5% of wear, and we were able to get about 6 laps with the fuel supply, so it is a very efficient vehicle. We ended up crossing the line at 2 minutes 10 seconds .922, so not the best time, but it's not the most expensive vehicle either. This put it behind the Type 550 and just in front of the Miata. But let's go ahead and engine swap this thing with a B motor and see how it handles in that configuration. Swapping in the B18 motor out of the Integra Type R into this Civic is a perfect combination for this car. It is something you can either win through roulette, or after level 50 it'll cost you 137,000 credits, so it's definitely not an early game thing. But if you've been playing for a little while and have the capability, this is an amazing vehicle to drive. And I'm not a fan of front-wheel drive vehicles at all. The performance points end up at 674, so this is a car that will actually hang with the Group 4 cars pretty well, and it's a lot of fun, kind of going toe-to-toe with them in an 80s front-wheel drive Civic. The engine ends up producing 423 horsepower and 220 foot-pounds of torque. So that's over 120 extra horsepower with about 33 extra torques behind you. This will actually push the car up to 190 miles an hour, which is a 20 mile an hour gain. And again, it's the red line on this engine is going to be way higher than what's on the tack. So when you're setting this up in the gearing, I think I had it around 250 kilometers per hour, which is way below that 190 miles per hour. So you're going to set it lower than what you expect. This is a momentum car, so you're going to want to carry as much speed as you can through the corners. And I actually normally will have this set up using the clutch with the manual gearbox, the fully adjustable manual, and you end up shifting quite a bit. But that just adds to the character of the car and makes it that much more fun to drive. The tire wear was similar, with about 20% wear to the fronts and about 5% wear to the rear, but we were a little shy of getting that 6th lap, so you'll probably want to pit on lap 5 in this configuration. We crossed the line at 2 minutes 5 seconds, 0.414, so about a 5-second gain, which put it right behind the 97 M3 and just in front of the Tesla Model 3 Performance. So if you have the money, pick this car up. Not necessarily because it's going to dominate, but it's just a fun car to drive. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.